I don't know if I would ever want to race against my coach.
I've essentially had the good fortune of people coming back and teaching me their lessons.
And I just think seeing Killian on the start line probably will intimidate a lot of people.
That is incredibly exciting.
I think we should start with kind of our in memoriam segment of all the people who are not running this year.
Is there anything else besides John Kelly?
I think the racing strategy is going to be in Killian's favor. And
that is incredibly exciting.
How about they do a mile time trial the day before, and then they have to start in single file line in the order that they finish that mile?
I'll be honest, the most videos I've watched is David Poach, the man, the myth, the legend, David Poach.
Hello and welcome to the Free Outside Show. This episode, we dive into Western States with Allison Mercer, and we talk about everything from the carnage and the in memoriam of all the people who didn't make the start line and the storylines that are out there. And then, of course, because it's Allison and she runs FKT, fastestknowntime.com, we get into FKTs, John Kelly, lots of good stuff. Great ideas here too. We have the idea of all the pros running a mile ahead of time to seed themselves, and that's what order they start in. So it's a fun one. Hope you enjoy it. Please like and subscribe, share these with your friends, share your favorite episode. Helps the thing grow, and it's cool. If you can see behind me, these are boxes. This is Ted over here. Here he is. It's because I have to move. So I'm moving all this into a storage unit, and I am going to be living by the seat of my pants for the next 2.5 months or so, including going for the Appalachian Trail. So you can support this, everything else, patreon.com/freeoutside, or subscribe to my Substack, all kinds of fun stuff. But ratings and reviews really help us. So let's get into the episode on Western States with Allison Mercer.
Today on the Free Outside podcast, we are talking Western States with Allison Mercer, our field correspondent from the East Coast, the heart of Olympic Valley coverage. So how's it going, Allison?
Definitely. I mean, with the weather we've been having, like in the 90s, I feel like we could be in Olympic Valley and right in the heart of Western States course, but no, I am 3,000 miles away and nowhere close to the course, but virtual.
Yeah.
Isn't everything virtual now?
Everything is virtual. Yeah. I think since 2020 when Skype failed and Zoom took off. So I think we should start with kind of our in memoriam segment of all the people who are not running this year. And it's just kind of crazy going from Unbreakable, the most insane start list ever, to pretty much just like every other start list to me.
Or the very breakable list.
The most breakable list, and Unbreakable 2 was like a flash in the pan for like a month, and then suddenly it was over. So, I was gonna just read off on the women's side. We have people that are not starting that we're gonna start. So Rachel Drake, Leah Yingling, I think they're both out with pregnancy deferrals, and MK Sullivan. And then we have Claire Banworth, who's pretty notable. And then Lynn Chen, who won a golden ticket at Black Canyon. And then Priscilla Forgy, who was top 10 last year. All of them are not racing this year, sadly. And then on the men's side, we have Hayden Hawks, Jim Walmsley, John Ray, all top 10 from last year. And then we have Will Murray, the saddest one of all for me, who's not going to be towing the start line because he broke his ankle last week while on an easy run in Olympic Valley. So I did our in memoriam segment, but what do you think about how breakable the field has been so far?
It's just disappointing because, every year with Western States, it's marquee fields, like the biggest fields we've ever seen, the most competitive. And then all of a sudden you start hearing Hayden Hawks, Jim Walmsley, John Ray. And then you hear rumblings, Wilmer, and you're just like, no, not another one, because it was built up to be like Unbreakable, where you don't know who to root for. So it was just such a bummer. Not that this field isn't stacked and you still don't know who's going to win. I mean, it can go a million different ways. And every time you see a top 10, you're like, wait, they left this person off. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the women, I actually have to give a lot of credit to Western States to having this pregnancy deferral where the women can come back at any time. It's not 5 years. There's no limit. So there's no rushing back. So I give Western States a lot of credit for that. But to not see like Rachel Drake throw down like she did at JFK and Western States every year and Leah Yingling is kind of, disappointing. I mean, you already had not a watered down women's field because it's still stacked, but no Courtney, no Ruth, no Katie. You're kind of like, well, is the course record still in jeopardy? And honestly, with this field, I still think it is.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting too that there's no like far and away favorite on the women's side, which might make the entire field faster, which I think could really play to the course record advantage of just everyone moving in a pack, going really hard. And even every golden ticket race the last couple of years, it's been so fast and just getting progressively faster. And there's so many fast women that have kind of burst onto the scene in the past few years that a lot of them are in this field. And I think, I don't know, it's going to be really interesting. And even someone like Keely Henninger, who is a really good runner, decided not to re-sign with her sponsor and then is still running amazing and has some redemption to get at Western States. I think there's just a lot of intriguing storylines on the women's side versus, yeah, I think that's where the most in-depth stories I think lie at this point, because there's just so many unique individuals with different backgrounds. Even Tara, like AT to Western States, the really coveted pipeline. Usually people have run Western States 10 years and then they do the AT.
Oh, like someone like Scott Jurek? I don't know. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. It's been really interesting to watch kind of the carnage of people just drop out, especially on the men's side. Why do you think it feels like it's more prevalent this year?
I mean, I think to be honest, it's the Roach effect. I think, love him or hate him, he puts it all out there. He shows the training and everyone's doing that. Everyone has a YouTube. Everyone is showing how hard they're training. And I'm sure you feel it. And I'm sure with your athletes, you toe a line where you are tiptoeing, where you go too hard, one too many times, you go too close to the sun and, injuries pop up, or you just play it off and you think, oh, it's going to be fine. Let me just rest. Let me just do this. And, injuries happen. I mean, with Walmsley, you saw him at Mesquite Canyon, like floating in the 50K. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, he's injured? Like, what happened? But you also see like Hans Troyer just absolutely destroying it. His YouTube, his Strava, like everyone's very transparent, which, you have the comparison on social media. So you're like, well, if they're doing that, they're doing this. Like, I should be doing that. Like, I want to be just as fast. I want to rub a sub 4-minute mile. So I think seeing that social media isn't always the best policy and the best friend you can have in this situation.
Totally. And since you're our expert on the track as well, do you think ultra and trail is going to go that method of putting less stuff out there? Because it seems like the track world is a lot more guarded with workouts and things like that. Like there is video content, but there's a lot less athletes on, say, Strava or being so open and transparent, because it is weird that Roach created this thing where there's this pressure to put everything out there, but I don't think it's serving 90% of the people that are doing it. And David could benefit by having a bigger podcast and growing their coaching side and the YouTube channel. But I don't think like a Jeff McGavro or Adam Peterman, I don't think they benefit from putting everything out there. So I'm wondering if we're going to see this step back from being so transparent.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword. How else do you grow your brand? And for those that are pros, how do you sign contracts? How do you get the visibility? How do you, like I said, build that brand is through content and get the following. So you kind of have to show it. But I thought it was interesting with the Boulder boys, Seth and Matt and all them are saying, we're doing the same things. We're just not showing it. Like, it's not a big deal to us. Him doing a 5-minute mile, 5:30-minute mile tempo, like that's child's play for them. I mean, you have people like Joe McConaughey that can do a 4-minute mile. So it's not like it's anything new to them. But I think because trail running has grown so much that people only see certain things that come up on YouTube, they may not go into the weeds and be total nerds like I am and know all this history on, Seth Ruling, his triathlete career, and other nuances that these people can do just as much, like Adam Peterman at CU. Like,
Yep.
I don't think it's as big a deal, but once again, you get the YouTube, visibility, you get that content going, and the podcast, I think Boulder Boys has gotten a lot more visibility just from having the podcast. And I doubt a year or two ago, people knew who Seth Ruling was.
Yeah, not unless you were really into 50Ks and following that, but he's jumped up really successfully. And I think it kind of goes back to this thing of the bigger audience you have, you can just kind of rise above the other people, even if they're equally talented too. Of David Roach is probably on some people's or most people's like fantasy picks or whatever. He might be one of the top people choose just because he's so visible and people might not know. And Adam Peterman so well, who, had dealt with an injury and is now finally back. Or Joe, we need to talk about string bean. Like, he's probably has the fastest mile time in the field, yet everyone calls him a thru hiker or like a 200-mile specialist. It's so funny how just recency bias really weighs into things. Whereas, I don't know, I think Joe's really interesting, and it's really him against himself on how healthy he is on the start line for every race he does.
Well, and that's the thing, is you always think when someone isn't being fully transparent on Strava, on social, they must be hurt. So it's a double-edged sword where you're just like, and I feel like that's Walmsley last year, where he went Strava dark and you're like, is he hurt? Is he healthy? What's going on? And you don't know how to predict it. And it's terrible for fantasy picks, because how do you choose when you don't see what they're doing? And a lot of people like Seth Ruling have had injury past, Adam Peterman. And you also have a lot of people that are making their 100-mile debut. So you're like, yes, they've done 100Ks, but you're adding 40 more miles. And even with how fast they're going, you could go out too hard, like too many matches, and then by the time you get to the river, you're done. So it will be really interesting for people like Seth Ruling and Hans Troyer, who haven't done the 100-mile distance, which I think will be really interesting to see. And, those people that are just looking at content may not realize that, but you have to think about who's been on the course, who has been through that distance.
Yeah, and I think it's lost on a lot of people going from 100K to 100-mile. That is half again as far plus some. Like, you're adding a ton of miles. It's 100K. It's such a weird zone going from 100K to 100-mile because it's just so much further. I don't know if everyone realizes that, like 38 miles, that's a huge difference.
Oh, yeah. But one person, speaking of social media and everything, that I can't believe we didn't even put this in our forefront, was Killian. Like, I feel like no one does content, especially on some of those peaks and ridgelines that he does, like Killian. And some of his Strava runs, his 50-mile run that he did in like 6 hours, it was just insane with 10,000 feet. Like, it is wild. And I just think seeing Killian on the start line probably will intimidate a lot of people. Or some people may just be like, oh, I'll just follow him. But you can't help but know having him on the start line is definitely going to intimidate a lot of people.
Yeah, and I really think maybe you're 20 miles in running with Killian and you're breathing kind of hard and you can't hear him breathing hard. I think it's really going to mess with people just knowing how excellent of an athlete he is. I mean, there's a number of good athletes in the field, but someone that's so versatile and so good at so many things and seemingly just resilient and able to pull out everything. I mean,
Yes.
I think the racing strategy is going to be in Killian's favor. And I think he's probably going to mess with some people in there just because he's just so able to push so hard and then just keep it going for so long.
I mean, He was in the original Unbreakable, so you just think about him just like la la la, like
He was like
no big
jumping off
deal.
rocks.
In the white shorts, and I'm just like, that was a dangerous choice, but to each his
Yeah.
own.
Do we think David Roach is going to wear the white shorts? The white jumpsuit?
Oh gosh, and just be like, Killian, will you sign my jumpsuit? Like maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of weird gamesmanship, it feels like, on the David Roach side of it, too, going into it, where continues to say, like, no secrets, everything's out there, all this filming and stuff. And I don't know, it's just such a different style of continuing to call his shot and go after it again and again. And that was one more thing I wanted to talk about is it seems like it's acceptable on the men's side to say, like, I'm going to go for the win or something. But then you hear a lot like the women's interviews and they're just, I don't know, it feels like it's not as accepted to put it out there and go for it. And I don't know how you feel about that too.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what Sabrina Stanley did when she's like, this is mine, I'm going out for it, and I'm called a bitch. But, when you call your shot, but it's like, you got to have some kind of swag and just own it and just have that maybe intimidation factor. I mean, Tara wants to go out and win, and I think everyone wants to go out and dominate. You can be friends off, but in the start line, like, they are competitors. It was funny to see it like on the Western States training camp videos where they're all like, la, 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 let's all. But they were still kind of two-stepping each other or one-stepping, two-step. I mean, maybe they're country line dancers too, but, kind of just measuring up where people are at. But I think the other thing with David Roach, and I don't know if you've raced against any of your athletes, but I find it so odd. And I don't know if I would ever want to race against my coach that knows everything about me, knows my weaknesses, knows when I've been injured or what I go through or peaks, valleys, things, and kind of knows my kryptonite and knows my game plan and knows my playbook where, I don't know my coaches, but they know everything about me. So it's also like if I'm a coach and they're also your competitor, are you giving them an advantage by giving them like a pre-race pep talk or something? It's just a very fine line where I'm just like, I'm very interested because David forever was like, I'm never going to race my athletes. And now all of a sudden he's towing the line everywhere.
Yeah, it's really strange too to have a coach that is coaching you to a potential podium or win. And like Hans Troyer, he coaches him. So I think it's just like, how could you have a call with your coach and him pumping you up, giving you confidence, like you belong up there, like you can win this thing. It's like, but the person telling you that also thinks the same thing. I don't know. It's a very, very strange dynamic. I don't know how it can work, but maybe it does. I don't know.
Especially Western states where, like I said, with sponsorship and everything, it is such a huge marquee event and it can make or break your bonuses, your contracts and everything else. And also like coming back next year. So there's a lot on the line that you're putting a lot of trust in someone that you could be fighting for the 10th spot against.
Yeah. And even the confidence going into it too. I think it'd be hard to have full confidence that you got all the information that you need if one of your competitors is the person giving you those, the information, the strategy, the pep talk. Yeah. I don't know. It would create too much doubt for me.
For sure. The one person, I'll be honest, the most videos I've watched is David Poach. I mean,
oh yeah,
that guy nailed it. And it is so phenomenal. I hope he's out there. I hope he paces David Roach because that would be just everything. That would just make the race possible to have, the man, the myth, the legend, David Poach there. I mean, I would want an autograph. I would want a picture. I would want to race him off with starting blocks like he did. Like everything about that is just one thing you need because I feel like it is very serious and everyone's very like, this is my training plan, but you gotta have a little fun with it. you know?
Yeah, and I think the videos too are so funny because they're just like directly from things that David talks about and then just takes it like times a million of just like over emphasizing every little thing and the heat suit things. But he did put out, there is a shirt you can buy, I think, of the no hands duck too. So yeah, there is a way to support David Poach. It's incredible. Yeah, I think the other big thing that is just kind of gotten crazy is all the heat suit stuff and the heat training and stuff. So it feels like a lot of these athletes' social media has turned into photos of them in saunas doing heat training. And it's not even just the Roach camp, but it's like humble brags on Instagram or Strava and stuff. And it's just like, I mean, it's good and stuff, but wow, it's really become a competition of like who's spending more hours in the sauna a week.
Who has the best suit?
I think Tara might have like a Tyvek suit actually, which is pretty through hiker. I once sewed up a Tyvek suit into a rain suit, so it's pretty awesome to see that level. It's like a painter suit.
Oh yeah, and even Joe on the Stairmaster, mastering it. And I know he does that a ton. I think he did it before Black Canyons as well, just because when does it get above 70 in Seattle? So
Yeah.
I guess you got to use what you can. And I mean, it's very interesting to see the studies on saunas, where it even helps you when it's cold. It's just, the red blood cell. And I mean, Connor Mance does it like every day, and it's actually getting warmer in Utah. So obviously, if it works for an American record holder and an Olympian, clearly it will work for everyone.
Yeah. It's crazy that like every year there's a new breakthrough of a new science that comes about. It just feels like, how can we not just have all of these sciences come to the forefront immediately? But it's just like they slowly trickle into this sport.
Oh, yeah. And just like we talked about with Cocodona, will there be any bicarb?
I bet everyone's taking bicarb on this start list for sure. Didn't Killian took it at UTMB or Tom Evans took it at Western States a few years ago. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many intricacies of this sport now. It's so dialed. So let's start with the women's field. Who are a few people you're excited to see and who you think's going to do well?
I mean, obviously, I'll start with all the returners. I'm just going to make up words here. We're just going to have our own language.
Yeah.
Fu Zhao, Esther, Emily Hawgood. I mean, you have all these people that put in the fastest times at Western. And I feel like it always got overshadowed because you had Katie with such a dominant performance that you can't help but give these women their flowers and know that Heather Jackson, the people that know the course, that have made the mistakes and can really be a force. I mean, Esther's gotten third the last 2 years. Emily Hawgood lives on the course practically, and after her Canyons performance, you can't say she's due for a win. So I definitely have them up on my list. Obviously, Tara, I mean, her Black Canyons, her Lake Sonoma. I mean, what can't the woman do? And maybe Hard Rock, like, it's incredible. And she just has such a good spirit and good aura about her that she's just like having a blast. And of course, also, I would be remiss if I didn't even talk about Riley Brady. I mean, they are definitely a force with 2 golden tickets. Their Javelina performance alone, just out from the gun and just being so consistent no matter the temperatures. I'm really excited to see them have a good performance at Western, where I think their first time, all they did, they threw up on Craig Thornley's shoes are all over on the course, and they apologized for it, which is hilarious. So, I mean, it's just so tough to pick. And also, I mean, I'm just going to list off the whole field. Fiona Pascal, Beth Pascal, previous Western States winner. I don't think there's been a sibling duo that's won Western or finished in the top 10. So it will be interesting to see how she performs.
Yeah, I'm really interested in Riley Brady because they are so good in the heat, seeing both Black Canyon and Javelina. I think that's going to be a pretty good indication on how well someone does. I mean, everyone's cooling, everyone knows how to cool out there, but just that extra bit of being so successful and knowing you can run 100 miles successfully and well in the heat like a javelina. And then it was just like, I don't know, like a curtain call or something to just go out to Black Canyon and set the course record there when you already have a golden ticket. It was incredible. Hannah Allgood, I think, is also interesting. Yeah. And then
Marianne Hogan, seeing her return, being healthy is such a good, and she was all smiles at the Western States camp. I'm like, she's having a blast, and I'm sure she's just happy to be there and healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Abby Hall got in, Caitlin Fielder, Aaron Clark. Now we're just getting SEO by listing names, but yeah, I think there's it's really fun. I think it's been really fun being in the sport and watching the women's fields get deeper and deeper, and I think that's a testament to just more focus and like the professionalization of the sport too. And I think it's as intriguing as the men's side, even though some of the men have louder and sometimes more annoying voices than the women. So do you have picks for the women's field?
For the win, I would say Riley.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so,
I picked Esther. I think
nice.
Yeah. I think 2 top 3s is good, and then having that experience. All right, let's move over to the really contentious men's side. We've barely hit some of these people of, Vincent Bouillard, Rod Farvard, Dan Jones, I think Caleb Olson also. There's just so many people, Chris Myers even, Dan Green, Adrian McDonald, Jeff McGavro. There's a bunch of just fun people in the field on top of the people who have the biggest audiences and the loudest voices too.
Yeah, I mean, all your John G guys, Ryan Montgomery, Harry Sabaris, they could come out and perform very well. I mean, heck, Harry at the beginning of Cocodona was pretending he was at Western with, his splits to Crown King. I was just like, what is he going, like 6-minute pace? I was like, does he realize this is just the first 50K? But I mean, those split shorts, I don't know. Maybe he thought he was on the track.
Yeah, I mean, the John G apparel, it just makes you 10% faster. That's what they say.
See, it's all in the tech. I mean, who needs the shoes and the 4%? It's really the John G tech.
Yeah. So how do you think it'll play out? Do you think Killian or David will dictate the race from the front, or is it going to just be pack running? How's the men's field going to go without a Jim or Hayden there?
I mean, I definitely think they're going to go out of the gate and just, someone's going to front run, and then everyone's going to feel like they need to keep up. And they're, I feel like it will be like every other race where you'll have these people out of the gate up, want to be first on the escarpment. And then you'll have the few people that are like, yeah, a little too hot for my blood, and then start playing Pac-Man. It's just every year I feel like that happens. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I don't think Killian would I think Killian will play it smart. I'm trying to think who I think will go out like hot. I mean,
Harry Sabertis.
Yeah,
probably.
Harry it will be Cocodona Part 2.
Harry and maybe Seth Ruling might go out really hard too. He always races pretty fun. We'll see how it works.
Yeah.
I don't know. Rod's interesting because it's almost like exploded onto the scene at Canyons and then Western and had a good year since then and back again. I wonder if it is going to feel like he has a chip on his shoulder and running that way of like, I have to prove it. I have to win this year. Like Jim's not here. It's my year. And I'm wondering, that just sounds dangerous. So especially with this field.
Yeah. I mean, I can also see Hans, being young and just saying, hey, I'm going to go for it and just let it all out there. But, I think also, I don't know if you know this, they finish on a track. So I feel like my philosophy from Cocodona of just sitting and kicking on people on a track, I mean, what better way to do it?
Yeah. Who do you think has the best kick in the field?
I don't know. That's really tough. I mean, I would probably say maybe Seth or Joe.
Maybe Adam. I don't know. He might be fast.
Yeah.
Or Chris Myers. He looks like he could sprint pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Maybe they should do a mile time trial, because didn't David say like you have to run like, 6 or 4-minute miles in order to really be competitive? We should just go out on the track the day before, do a mile time trial, and that will really give you a seat. Maybe they get like a head start.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like, all right, time trial. Whoever wins the time trial, you get that like 10-second, 20-second head start. Boom.
How about this? How about they do a mile time trial the day before, and then they have to start in single file line in the order that they finish that mile. So
Oh,
if
yes.
you're 20th place starting single file. That would be pretty fun.
Or like for every place you finish, you have to like that's your delay. Like if you finish 20th, you're 20 seconds behind.
That would ruin some people's races just trying to catch up so quickly. That would be
Oh
pretty
yeah.
fun.
Like, they do the depletion mile,
Hmm.
after Hard Rock or I think Mordian does that. No, we do it beforehand. We got to see who's the toughest, who's the fittest. A good
Yeah.
good shakeout run, right? A mile time trial.
Yeah, the day before. I think it's the key. I've also always wanted to do a media mile on the track after golden hour. So everyone who filmed, they race a mile with their camera and they race against each other and there's some type of prize. But I think that'd be pretty funny with just how much the media and the videographers and stuff have blown up and how much they have to run around is make them be in the spotlight and sprint a mile with their cameras too.
So who would win? It would be like Patty, Ryan, Jamil. That would be tough. I mean, some of those guys will just sprint down and some of their coverage to keep up, especially the Golden Trail series. Like
Oh, yeah.
some of those, or like last year it was at the New York Grand Prix. Noah Lyles had just won and he sprinted across the field and the camera guy like literally sprinted with him, probably did like a 10-second 100-meter dash. I'm like, who is this guy and why is he not in the field with him? Because if he can keep up with Noah Lyles, like anything is possible and he deserves a contract. Like Adidas, sign that man.
Yeah, I mean the camera and the coverage of for all the projects going on out there is pretty incredible because they're just driving on rough roads, they're jumping out with their camera, they're sprinting next to people, and just doing that throughout the day. I guess they probably make more than some of the athletes, but still, it's unsung heroes out there covering this sport.
Seriously. Pour, pour some tailwind out for them. I mean, they are the unsung heroes. The crew, nah. Volunteers, no. The camera crews. Shout out.
Well, I mean, if there's like 50,000 people watching, those are the reasons we get to watch, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Cocodona, any UTMB, if it weren't for them or drones, where would we be?
Well, I think Cocodona, they can mostly walk beside a lot of the athletes.
Except the first 50K with Harry.
Yeah. I mean, Jamil and I can't remember who else, they were hiking up to get some footage, but everyone had passed them before they got to the spot that they were going to film, so they just missed everybody. It was pretty funny. It's just amazing how fast these races have gotten. So how do you think the race is going to play out on the men's side?
It's so, there's so many different scenarios. I mean, I would love to see Killian win just because it's such a good story. And how can you not root for Killian? But I don't know. Like, I also would love to see, Hans, just the story of just literally coming into the scene 2 years ago to become a Western States battling Black Canyon with, Hayden Hawks and, getting Rabdo. I mean, it's such a good story. Seth Ruling got it, clearly I like all my Southerners. I mean, he's just worked so hard for it and just grinds. So,
And the southern hemisphere, you got Dan Jones too, who's
yes.
just
How can we not talk about Dan Jones?
Probably the best resume for Western in recent history. So we'll see.
Definitely, yeah. Or Dan Green. I mean, I really enjoyed his YouTube videos. I mean, it's so just like ho-hum, like West Virginia, like just running on the most random busy streets. And you're just like, oh gosh, is he going to get hit? And like, is there going to be like a railroad, like come out? Like, I don't even know what's going on in those videos, but you got to love it. And his accent, like it's just everything. But I'm very biased.
Yeah. And I mean, we barely talked about Caleb Olson, who Trans Gran Canaria had the course record by a ton this year. I don't know. It's really impossible on the men's side this year. It felt really easy like a month ago, and now it's a big question. But I'll go first. I picked Killian, and then I kind of chose with my heart a fellow Jeff. I put Jeff McGavro because I
Oh
think
yeah.
that'd be
Montana
awesome.
guy too.
Yep, Montana guy, and he's fun. And then I put Adam Peterman, another Montana guy, in third. But yeah, it's hard to leave Dan Jones off because I think he's really fit, trains with Hayden, seems like he's gets better every year. I don't know. Yeah, I could see the men's field going a lot of different ways.
Do you think it will come down to the wire?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think someone is gonna have a 3, 4, 5 minute lead and win that way, and then probably pretty bunched up for the remainder of the top 10. But I think just how they're gonna race and how everyone wants to race that, someone is just gonna come out less scathed than most people that are fighting for it. I just don't think it can be so cutthroat and everyone running and wanting a sprint finish. I think someone's going to be a little bit better heat trained or a little bit better runner or climber or something. Like some little edge is going to be the reason that there's a bit of a gap in there. And I don't know. I just think Killian's all around ability to mitigate any of his minor weaknesses is just going to really help, because I don't know, you could probably poke a hole in every athlete in the field, yet Killian just somehow finds a way every time.
Yeah. I mean, do you think his broken arrow where he said he had an upset stomach, do you think that's anything? Or do you think it's just he was probably jet lagged and just, it was not a big deal because the race that he wants is a week later?
I think it's a good thing, actually. I think it just like refocuses everything, and it's not just like a training run anymore. It's almost like Rod at Black Canyon last year. And then it's like, okay, I got to just redial in everything, make sure I feel good about it. And Killian has all the experience. I mean, he's been executing the science we're just learning about for a decade. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a problem at all. I think it's almost a good thing. Yeah, I think if it went really well and he won, it would almost be too much of just feeling good, feeling too confident. I think maybe coming in a little bit humble or, knowing, being on the right footing rather than, underestimating everyone around. So yeah, I think we could spin that into a good thing for Killian.
I like it. And one thing we should talk about is the MVP of the race, and they haven't even done anything. Most valuable pacer, Des Linden, pacing Joe McConaughey, which I think is the oddest couple, given that she's like 4 foot barely. Is she even 5 foot? And he is like 6'4". I mean, her river crossing, will she need floaties? I don't know. I hope she'll be okay for it, but I'm really excited to see her transition into the trails. This will be the first time we see her. She's talked about doing trails, but we'll have the camera footage of her. Maybe we should just have a Des cam of how she does, how is the downhills, what's her stride like, snack choices. Just, we need full Des cam. And
totally.
It's a good decoy because, when you're up there, it just feels like between Broken Arrow and Western States, there's so much coverage. Everyone's doing a podcast about Western States or doing interviews, and everyone wants to interview Des. Well, they're kind of leaving Joe off. So maybe Joe's just using her as a decoy. So he's like, nah, I don't need to talk. Just talk to my pacer. Good plan.
Yeah, exactly. Hide from the attention, not worry about it. Yeah, hopefully they have a children's life fest at the river crossing.
A noodle.
Yeah, a pool noodle would be pretty awesome. Yeah, it is really interesting because I guess we're not getting the Courtney effect, or if there's a Jim effect or anything like that, or Katie or something, but Des brings way more people to the table. So maybe this will impact the reach of Western as well. And I don't know, it's such a interesting style to bring someone in with that high a profile to pace you. I don't know. Yeah, I hope it's a good thing, but yeah, that's a lot of attention surrounding you because even when you're going into your crew or something early on in the race, you might have people asking her for autographs and stuff, even though it's Joe's race.
Oh yeah. But I feel like that's why she's so small. She can hide. So people
Yeah.
won't know and people won't see her. And, she'll be like, nope, not here. Like they'll just think it's some random
Yeah.
person. But I'm excited to see how she does and hopefully she likes it so we see her in more trail races and the next chapter of her career. And I feel like they always talk about men's marathoners that have transitioned to trail, but they don't ever talk about women marathoners that transition to trail. So it's good to see, well, Mary to Home is one, but I feel like with Des, it's kind of opening that kind of pipeline for women to, their career's not over after the marathon, that there's a whole sport out there and opportunities.
Yeah. Especially a sport where you can run a little bit slower. You just have to go for longer.
Yeah, no big deal. But the
Yeah.
snacks are better and the aid stations are better. And I would say the community and the surface is a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. So let's say Des does transition into trail and the goal and the whole plan is to get to Western States next year. How do you think she's going to do? Do you think it's going to be a smooth transition? Is the talent and the fitness just superior enough that it's just figuring out trails at that point or the right golden ticket race? How's it going to go?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we already know by her 2018 Boston,
Yeah.
the girl is grit. The girl is determined. I mean, she keeps showing up and it doesn't matter the weather and she's ready to, dig down and go hard. So I feel like she already has the trail spirit and just the dry humor and the sarcasm. I mean, what more do you need?
Yeah. I think, yeah, it'll probably be a little hard figuring out, the longer distance and being out there, but everything is solvable. And with, the mindset of pro athlete and just so analytical as well, I think it's going to just really boil down to the right advice or coaching or whatever from there. But yeah, you can't really teach the level of fitness that she's bringing to the sport.
No. Especially as the world record holder in the 50K. I
Yep.
mean, she, and with her signed up for Tunnel Hill in the fall, it'll be really interesting to see her going to yes, the 50K is an ultra, but I feel like to really go the distance, like a 50 miler or 100K, like that's a true ultra, I feel like. So I feel like it's good that she's getting her feet wet now to test into trails and to see if she wants to do more trail ultras or road ultras.
Yeah, I'm curious if the plan is to do Tunnel Hill and then like a Black Canyon or something
Mm-hmm.
in the spring and then try for Western. That would be a crazy turnaround from retirement to Western States in like a year.
Casual.
Yeah. So it hasn't happened yet, so we'll see how that goes.
We're like already predicting our plan. All right, Des, you're gonna do this. We'll coach you. We got you. Like, no
Yeah.
big deal. Between the two of us, we have so many golden tickets and so many
Yeah.
Western States podium finishes.
That's why I have to move all my trophies to just have outgrown this house.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't know if you're gonna sell them on eBay just to get some extra money. Like didn't like Jared Hazen sell his buckle
I heard he sold them. Yeah.
or like trophy or something? It's like, nah, I don't need this. Like, no big deal.
Yeah. Wow. That's our first Jared Hazen mention of the episode.
Hmm.
He is
I guess we should add him. Like, I would love to see him come back and win, or just do something like just that return.
Yeah. Well, I think on that topic, do you think this like really breakable style of training is going to have shortened career impacts with kind of what happened to Jared as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like you just have to take care of yourself and the recovery and just listen to your body. And I guess it's just a double-edged sword because if you don't show up, you don't go to these races, then you're not getting the sponsorship opportunities. But you got to listen to your body that if you don't, then you won't have a career. So I think we are seeing a lot of that and a lot of people, like you said, like that we saw 4 or 5 years ago, you don't see on the list. And you're just like, well, I wonder what happened to them, all the cappuccino cowboys. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, you just have to listen. And that's what I mean, I worry about with Tara. Like, she does so much and she's going a mile a minute and like wants to do everything. And it's just like, let's recover, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think a number of people just race so much now, and I don't know, it's way different. Like rod races all the time as well. It's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I wonder if it's this pressure or this relevance or this thing of where the cycle and, you know, bringing up and talking about these people, which increases their brands, moves on so quick. Like after Black Canyon, uh, analysis and stuff is done by the next weekend because there's another race. And, you know, it's like, well, I got to jump in something every month to even be relevant or mentioned. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a scary aspect of even going back to social media and stuff of if you're not, yeah, if you're not putting yourself out there, then you're falling behind is sort of the mentality that it feels like these days.
Or like with Ultra Runner of the Year, I feel like you have to have like 5 top 3 finishes in order to be in the top 10 Ultra Runners of the Year, which is like for people that have like jobs and stuff, it's like, how do you even do that? And for 100 milers, it'd be one thing if it was the like sub Ultra of the Year where, you know, you see people like Joe Gray and
Mhm.
Andy Wacker like at races all the time, Anna Gibson, like, you know, so it's one thing for that, or all the people that are doing the Golden Trail series. But for ultra, it's like it takes a toll. Like whether you feel good after or not, you still need to listen to your body and just recover and just have a little down period before you go chasing the next thing and have the next video out. Like it's okay to have a down period. Like, you know, what you're doing this week, like, you know, having a week, it takes a maturity too to say it's okay. And also for women, that you're not going to lose fitness if you take a week off. I feel like women, especially with social media, put a lot of pressure. If they miss a day, you know,
Mhm.
they're going to just all of a sudden not be able to perform.
Yeah. And even when you look at people's training or hear them talk too, a lot of these athletes have performance teams around them. So they have like a strength coach and they have, um, like body work and they all have a running coach and stuff too. And they're trying to run the same volume as athletes like 10 years ago, but then they're also putting in like 4 to 6 hours in the weight room. They're doing a few hours of heat training, and it's adding up to an insane amount of time that they're putting into this. And yeah, I think, I don't know whether it's mental or physical or emotional. It just seems like we're going to start seeing a lot more burnout too, because it just doesn't feel sustainable. I know it's a job, but it's the type of job that if you're not enjoying, you're not going to perform to the level that you're supposed to perform your job.
No, and the fatigue and the injuries. And I think once you get into like an injury cycle, it's so mentally and
Mhm.
physically exhausting because you can't do what you want to do. And what do you see all over social media? Everyone doing everything, and you get FOMO. And so it's just like, it just doesn't lend itself to anything where you just want to make sure that you're doing all the right things. And I think that's the importance of having a good team and a coach that's going to tell you, hey, like slow down, or hey, you know, looking at your heart rate, or hey, you're really stressed at work. Like maybe you should take a few days off, or let's have a down week because you have a huge presentation or something. You also have to listen to your body, to stresses, and especially just the world right now. Like it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. We've now begun the political portion of the podcast. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
eventually. We won't dive too deep into that, but I mean, there's a lot going on. And if you're just doom scrolling, it can mentally just, you know.
Yeah. And I have friends who only have Strava as their social media app, but I think that is just as toxic as anything. I think this comparative nature we talked about 15 years ago with Facebook and then more recently with Instagram, and it's now really permeated the Strava world too, where it seems like every epic run is always the top of your feed when you open it up. And I don't know. I don't really like the direction that it's gone. I've taken time off it or try not to scroll on it or anything. And my friends now say if they get a kudo from me, they feel really special because I try not to look at anything. But it just makes me a worse human and athlete in general if I just am looking at someone else and thinking, okay, I'm actually going to make this run a little bit longer tomorrow because I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I think it's just scary how that's going. And I feel like for most people, doing enough isn't the problem. It's really the problem of doing too much.
What is that what you tell your athletes? Like, what do you tell your athletes when you see them kind of, going on that fine line where, they could be getting an overuse injury and they're just overdoing it?
Yeah, so this comes up a lot, especially early on with like, well, my friend said this, or I saw someone did this, or David Roach said this, or something. And it's usually just a conversation of, well, this is our plan. This is kind of the benchmarks and the periods and the phases we're going to go through and how things are working. Here's why we work in this cross training day. And really the goal is not to, especially if they have an injury history, talk about how we're trying to avoid that. And then also looking at and trying to point out the entirety of the training, whether it's 2 or 3 hours of strength work a week or a couple hours of cross training too, of like, it's not like we're only doing this many hours of running. We're supplementing in so many other ways as well. And then just kind of talking how we can, take the risk and blow it off for this year, but isn't it a multi-year thing of improving over time? And I think that's the biggest thing that's lost in some of this. And I feel it too. It's like, we got to do everything immediately. And the whole mantra of if not now, when, or something. And it's just like, you can't do everything well immediately all the time. And I think that's the biggest pressure that I feel and try to tell athletes as well too, is do you want to do well at these things or do you just want to do them?
Right. And I think you're a good example of that. And your transparency, you're not hiding anything, where I feel like some people hide, they only show the highlights. They don't show the lowlights. And honestly, you last year, had an off year. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't go the way you wanted, but did that stop you from setting your goals this year and still trying to go for it? Does it negate the incredible things that you've done and set? No, you still have that. And if anyone's putting you down or saying, oh, whatever, it's like, well, do you want to be around that person or that brand that's what have you done for me lately? It's like, I've built this reputation. I'm being my authentic self. And, I'm setting these goals and I'm putting myself out there. So I think there's something to be said for that. And if someone or a brand doesn't appreciate that, then, they can kick rocks.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's close with what is our update from the FKT world? What is exciting and happening since Allison is the queen of the FKTs?
I mean, is there anything else besides John Kelly?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the pace he's going at, the daily videos are his porcupine segments. I live for it, and I am all about talk about transparency and thinking about AT attempts before to see all this live, the La Sportiva YouTube videos, okay. But him just holding his camera, and it's not up and down Blair Witch style. It's incredible. And he's in Vermont now and just cruising right along. Even I feel like every day it's rained on him. Yeah. I mean, his feet are a mess and he hasn't even he's barely touched Vermont, or he has now, but that's probably one of the worst sections. And he's so close, and it's been 4 weeks. And I mean, I hope he kills it. It's just so cool. The whole story, the fact that he grew up on the trail, he's done long trail, he's done so much, and you can tell his heart's in it. His family's with him. How can you not enjoy that?
I love getting to see into his brain too, because the start of every video, you can kind of see it working. He's like, it's been 28 days, 1 hour and 17 minutes. And it's like, that's exactly authentically how you think. He's doing the math for us every single time.
Yeah. And the spreadsheets he had to start and everything, you're he's an evil genius, but it shows that he wants it so bad, and he's put in the work, he's put in the time, he's not half-assing it. He's not like, oh, I'm doing it because like that's what you do, and I want to do a premiere route and everyone to see me, and or he's picking one of the hardest things to do. And he's like, you know what? I have the time. I have the opportunity. This is a window before like my kids are too old and I'm too busy in practices and camps and everything, where he can put himself out there. And no one's like mentally tougher, I feel like, with Barkley and spine races. And I mean, Pennine Way, like all the things he's done. And I think the most important thing is what he's done for the Hurricane Helene relief funds and raising money. Like what he did last year in September, where he was going to houses, he was giving generators. So much heart is into that. And when he's having a low point and all that, he can reflect on it and like talk about his why. And I know you talked about that in your podcast. Like, his why. There's no doubt in his mind why he's doing it. And it just, you can't help but root for it.
Yeah, it's really fun to see him out there and just to see the approach too of include everyone in the community that he comes from and connect that to it too. I think just the transparency is kind of the theme of the episode of just like, this is what impacted my community and this is what I'm raising money for and my family's out here. I think it just shows that it means a lot more than just 40 days away from his family going for something. It's like he's bringing the community and the people along with him and trying to shine light on an area that really doesn't get any light shown on it and was pretty devastated 8 months ago or so.
Yeah, and now they're getting rains now, and they're still, barely have like electricity and everything, that they still need the help. And he's kind of raising awareness that, yes, time has passed, but they still need the help. That hasn't gone away. So I really appreciate that, running and FKTs can be very selfish, but he's really spun it into a whole community approach. I mean, every video, I feel like he has 2 or 3 people out there helping him for, days on end. And especially as he gets into the whites, like he has a whole squad out there that's going to help him. And, if you're not a good person and you're not a good steward of the land, like I doubt that many people would want to come out and help. But to see the outpouring of support that he's gotten just shows the true character.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And knowing that when the conditions are really bad, especially wet, it takes twice as much work from the crew to keep the runners set and moving forward and feet taken care of and probably double the laundry and stuff. And to have that level of support ongoing and continuing just really shows that he is a great and authentic person going for it and in his own way of doing the math for us live on camera on how many minutes he's been out there. It's so fun to see people when they're that raw. I think it's great. You can just hear it through his voice that he's got things he wants to say and he's going to say them in his own way.
Do you think he's going to set it?
Yeah, I think so. It's really hard to guess on FKTs. They're so hard, and you've probably seen more than anyone of like people can be so close and not get it. Things happen, but yeah, I mean it looks and feels really promising, so I'd go with that. But FKTs are feel way different than even ultras of just something can happen out of nowhere because especially multi-day, you're just really relying on your body to hold up, and that's a lot to ask too.
Yeah, I mean, he said in an interview, he goes, I'm going to take over 5 million steps, and one wrong step and one ankle turn can ruin it all. And I'm like, do not say that. Oh, no.
That's my only rule with pacers or crew or anything at events is we don't talk about injuries because we don't want to put that out there. That can't even be a thought. Why would you say an ankle roll? You don't want to manifest the possibility of that happening.
Especially on the AT. And I know he's already been through one. And, early on, it looked like he was really struggling. But there's also something, and I'm sure you're going to deal with it and you've dealt with it, is trail shape or what Tara said, where she's a race car and every day she's just being fed and, patched up, and kind of her pit crew is off and then she's off to the races. So I feel like at this point, day 30, whatever, hour 5, it's just every stop, and I'm just dot watching. And it's like, all right, did he get here? All right, where's Carl on this? Because everyone keeps asking, well, where is he in relation to Tara? And how does that compare? And it's like, it's hard given the different directions.
Yeah.
But also, you have to think about when with Tara, like, she didn't really, make the moves and really, power through to the last 3 or 4 days where she literally did like 200 miles. Like, it was just in an
She
instant
averaged
where she didn't
40.
sleep.
She averaged 43 miles a day for the first like 12 days and
Yeah.
then picked it up. So yeah, it's really hard to compare.
It's a lot of math, and usually Peter would do all that, and he's done some updates, and especially with comparing the miles per day. It's nice on John's tracker where he has Carl, so it's like, all right, where's Carl, where's you? And I know Christian Morgan did the same, and it helps leave the math off because it's a lot.
Yeah. Have FKTs changed in that supported category? Has it just been a couple years where it's turned into more of the athlete is just continuing and muling is kind of at its maximum at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think people now see like, oh, that's the way to do it. Like, I can do it, so and so did it. So I feel like they find these like loopholes, which, I mean, it's within the rules. It's part of the support. As long as they're not carrying you, like,
Yeah.
it's fine. So, we see that like Kyle Curtin did it a lot in Colorado Trail. So, and I forget someone else did it where they were like, hey, I'm just going to give them the whole time, and it worked. And, if you trust that person to carry all the right things and hand it to you, some weight off your shoulders.
Yeah. It just feels different than even like Scott and Carl seem like they had more solo sections and stuff like that. Even Liz out there too. But yeah, times have changed. FKTs change with them.
Yep. And soon you'll be out, and it'll be fun to dot watch you.
Yeah. Self-supported though. So I have to rely on myself.
Yeah. Unless you just have multiple personalities and you start hallucinating, then you can have like several other people you can pretend they're carrying your things.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I'll have so many things like that. I usually just end up talking to myself in different accents, pretending to be different people. Yeah, it gets weird out there.
I mean, isn't that why you do it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I like that it's just me, but there's so many aspects of me that I get to explore during it. It's pretty fun.
You should do like an accent for every state. Like, once you get to like, Georgia and all their like South Carolina, like North Carolina, you just start talking like this and have a Southern accent. And then in Pennsylvania, you just have like the water ice. And just, I can't do like a Maine or New Hampshire or Massachusetts. Like, you ask from you're from Boston. I don't know. Those are terrible accents, but maybe you do it that way.
I like it. Yeah. Going from like New York into New Jersey, I can just have like an argument between the two accents. That'd be really good. Yeah. I'm walking here. Something like that. Yeah. This is a great idea. You can be my chief strategist for this, for my mental game.
I'm glad I can be his assistant.
Yeah. All right. Any final words before we wrap up our very exhaustive Western States coverage?
Turned FKT, turned accents across the U.S. I think what better way to end it than on that?
I think so too.
Thank you for listening, and a huge thank you to Janji, JANJI.com. We mentioned them in the episode. They just make great shorts, great shirts. Sun hoodies are premium. They're releasing some bags, so check them out and use code FREEOUTSIDE. You get a decent % off. I'm not sure how much it is, but go there, try it out, and then tell me what % off you get. And it supports the show if you do that. And then Garage Grown Gear, I just ordered some stuff from them for my Appalachian Trail FKT attempt. They have everything from food, gear, socks, clothing, anything you can want. Check it out. Really cool space because it's all small businesses on there. It's an e-com marketplace for small businesses. And then last, CS Coffee, csinstant.coffee, freemium. No, it is premium freeze-dried instant coffee. That is what I have for you today. Enjoy Western States and hope you're enjoying the journey. I don't know how often you'll see this as the background anymore because since I'm moving out, you can see I usually have a beautiful landscape picture back here, but that is gone. All right. Stay elite, my friends.